To Europe now, and the bigwigs of the European Union last night declared they were working on what many see as an eventual solution to the crisis. Europe-wide bank deposit guarantees, closer fiscal ties and collectively guaranteed Eurobonds. Trouble is, the Germans don't want to know, and Greece is still in danger of default. Well, I'm joined now from London by Marcus Ashworth from Esperito Santo Investment Bank. Marcus, welcome to the programme.
Hi.
Now, look, terrible PMI figures just out in Europe. The Eurozone private sector activity suffering its worst monthly slide in nearly 3 years in May. It makes this growth versus austerity argument even more tense, I suppose.
It does indeed. We've also seen pretty bad numbers in the IFO sentiment index. So essentially, Europe is in a recession and it's a deepening one. I think the natural response is going to be that the ECB will have to cut rates much sooner rather than later, and the resolution to some form of clear idea what the European leadership becomes ever more important. The G8 summit was Merkel held out against everyone else. We've clearly seen no resolution overnight at the informal dinner, which in reality was far from informal. Everyone's made clear that basically Germany, Austria, Holland and Finland are essentially, along with Germany, against Eurobonds, whereas the rest are very clearly pushing for it. I think what's most likely is we'll actually get a bill programme which will get round the Eurobond, should we say, stigma.
Well, that'll make it obviously a lot more of a short-term solution, presumably.
Which has been the response so far from Europe. We've never had anything taken off a balance sheet. We've had a liquidity solution to a solvency problem, and I think the only way around they can do this is by matching the 3-year LTRO program with some form of pan-euro bill program, and hopefully they can extend and pretend. And it's quite similar to what happened in Greece. No bill ever fell in price. The bill programs are sacrosanct. There's no such thing as debt under 3 years in Europe. It doesn't exist.
So you say extend and pretend. Angela Merkel will not buckle on this Eurobond issue, even though she's now got pressure over the Atlantic from President Obama, no less.
Well, indeed, I think that's exactly where it comes down to. If Obama's ratings fall too sharply, he's going to put the gun to the head, which the Bundesbank has a gun to the head of Greece. But what will happen is there'll be some form of classic European fudge, and that's why I expect it'll be in the shorter-term bill area, or when they'll pretend it doesn't really matter as debt. Of course it does, but the Eurobond is perhaps a misleading term, but it will be equivalent to a Eurobond as a short one, that's all. They call it something else.
And with that, there's this idea of the European Security Mechanism, the ESM, which replaces the Stability Fund to support European banks, some of which, like the Spanish banks, are in real trouble. Is that going to work?
No, of course not, because really what they need to do is similar to an American TARP situation, actually take the assets off the balance sheet, create a whole bad bank situation. But the EFSF will run, in theory, in parallel for a year with the permanent ESM. However, I think it will run for much longer than a year together. But neither of these things are fully funded. It's a wish list. They've yet to actually finally put some proper capital or commitment behind it. And that's why, in essence, we'll drag this crisis out for years more to come. It's going to be a very difficult summer. I think that Merkel is talking a very hard game, but the reality is that they're letting all the banks borrow up to €1 trillion. The Target 2 system, which is whereby the monetary reckoning between the individual central banks shows that Germany is exposed by €700 billion. That she's not really being as austere as perhaps the headlines or the media might make it out to be.
And in the meantime, this all involves a lot more printing of a lot more money.
Which is the only real solution in the sense that they reach for the same things time and time again, and I don't think there's any reason to suggest that they'll do anything more than what they've done already.
Except the other alternative, of course, is what we were talking about, a couple of weeks ago that everybody seemed to wrap themselves around finally, which was a Greek default. What is going to happen on June the 17th, do you think, the Greek election?
I think June 17th is probably not really quite as crucial as some people say. I mean, if the Syriza party gets a majority, they're changing the rules so they can be eligible for the 50-seat bonus that the winning party gets. But I still doubt they'll actually get a workable majority for anti-austerity. Quite clearly, the leader has made clear that the euro is something they want to stay in. It's just the ultimate dichotomy of Europe is that they don't want to have the austerity, but they do want to stay in the lovely euro, which provides lots of lovely min monies. But reality, I think, is that the Bundesbank is trying to play hardball and finally make the Greeks realise that this is a crucial decision if they want to stay in the euro. And I suspect that they will have some form of compromise government, and that we will avoid narrowly the worst case scenario.
So on we go, extending and pretending. Marcus Ashcroft, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.